A leaked 19-page memo has alleged that the BBC LGBT desk censors trans coverage by its own reporters, promoting pro-trans narratives and excluding gender-critical perspectives. Author Michael Prescott, former editorial advisor, has found that the broadcaster confused audiences by omitting biological sex from coverage of certain stories, including a case of the transgender murderer Scarlett Blake. Let's get a word from Maya Forstater on this, Executive Director of Sex Matters. I mean, there's a bit of me, Maya, on this one. I just think, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Move on. Next subject, because we kind of expect a lot of this now.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it from all sides from the BBC. We've seen them not cover stories that were of national interest, particularly about children's gender services. We've seen them covering drag queens and Pride endlessly as if they had an advertising contract. And then we've seen stories like Scarlett Blake, where a man murdered another man, and for weeks they said that was a crime done by a woman.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of, journalistically, I do wonder what, and I apply this to lots of different stories we cover, Maya, to be honest, but with this, you might think somebody in the newsroom would just stick their hand up in the meeting and go, can we maybe clarify this?
Well, I mean, I think they do, but I think they get shot down, they're scared for their jobs. What the BBC has done is give those stories, any stories that touch on trans, to the LGBT correspondents instead of to the health or education or social affairs, so that they're ring fencing those stories only to the people whose job it is to sell gender ideology, rather than the journalists whose job it is to get to the bottom of the story and tell the truth.
Yeah. Has it got any better? I did notice a story, and I wish I could remember specifically which one it was, where the BBC, in fact, it was almost the opposite. They were one of the few, because the strange one that always gets me, the Mail Online are very quick to use the person's preferred pronouns. I don't know why. I guess because it's an international publication. But they do it worse than anyone. And this is the Mail that you think of when you think of the Daily Mail. Maybe there's something slightly different. But I did notice the BBC recently just didn't refer to someone's gender at all. They managed to very cleverly word it without going one way or the other, which is also not good enough. But it's still a rather bizarre place we've arrived in on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you see individual journalists trying to do their job, trying to make it clear for the audience. Martine Croxall on the news did a story about that she was supposed to read out pregnant people, and she said pregnant women. Yeah. And they got complaints, and they upheld the complaint against her.
Oh, did they uphold it?
Today they upheld it for saying pregnant women. So that, that's when you say journalists should put their hand up. When they do, that's what happens.
That's extraordinary. Did you say that happened today, that they upheld?
Yes, I just saw today that the complaints were upheld.
I mean, you do have to kind of almost want to rip your own head off with frustration at this kind of stuff. The idea, can you imagine going back, only 10, 20 years and sitting with your mate in the pub having a drink and, explaining and talking about pregnant people? Your mate would go home, wouldn't they, and go, do you know what, Ian's gone mad, he's gone nuts, he's talking about pregnant people. Nobody would, dispute, they would all be in agreement on this one, but we seem to have developed this kind of odd third-way opinion in life.
And it's not what most people think, and it's not how you can explain a story so that people understand it. It is just something that's held in these enclaves of elite organisations, and within the BBC, in this enclave of the LGBT network and the LGBT reporters that have been given the censor's hand. Yeah.
Strange times. Is all of this getting any better, Maya? Because, of course, we had the Supreme Court ruling, which seemed to clarify a lot of... There were some journalists and broadcasters felt a little bit more relaxed, that they weren't going to get fired for being, insensitive or politically incorrect. There's still an issue there, but has it improved a bit?
We do see it getting a bit better. For example, it seems like the LGBT reporters in the BBC have been sent off to the regions, and so there does seem to be a bit more freedom for journalists to report on the actual news. But the BBC. I mean, you think toilets are not a big deal, but they are. The BBC still hasn't sorted out its toilets policy. So if within the office, you can't say who's a man and a woman, and you can't have clear rules in terms of the basics of toilets. Then when it comes to reporting on the Olympics or on a crime story or in general on, whether people who say that sex matters are on the right side of the law,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to get that right if within the office you have to pretend that men are women and women are men.
Hey, this is upside down stuff, and then some. Listen, Maya, thank you. It's always great to gauge your opinion on this kind of stuff. Maya Forstater, who is the Executive Director at Sex Matters.